Hey guys, what's up? It's Crown9 here with my INVOKED Dogmatika deck profile because I wanted to give you guys a good alternative to Shaddoll Schism in case you didn't want to play the Shaddolls in your deck and you want to focus more around Link Summoning and maybe even the OTK variant of this deck. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's go straight into the deck profile. I'm going to be skimming over a lot of these because I feel like everyone knows what they do, so I'm just going to give you the TLDR. Alistair searches out your invocation, and then you can boost one of your fusions by 1000 attack and defense, your primary normal summon, your main engine piece. You have Ecclesia. On the normal or special summon, you can add a Dogmatika card from your deck to your hand, doesn't matter, it could be a monster spell or trap. You will be locked away from your extra deck after the resolution of the search. So for the rest of the turn after that, you cannot special summon from your extra deck, but you can do that prior. Also, she can be special summoned by just having an extra deck monster on your board or your opponent's board. Most of the time through her search, you're going to be searching out Knighted. Knighted says that on the main phase of either player's turn, so yours or mine, you can special summon this. If there's a Dogmatika card on the field already, so either Maximus or Ecclesia, you are able to negate something on your opponent's field, so think of it like a Feg Veiler. So if, for example, you're activating, Alistair's effect to search invocation, I have Ecclesia on the board already, I activate Knighted, I can special summon the Knighted, and it would negate your Alistair search. So similar to Feg Veiler, except instead of going to the graveyard, it gets on the board. Also, you can gain 500 attack for all your Dogmatikas that are attacking that turn. So you can make this 3k, you can make Ecclesia 2k, Maximus 2k as well. And, for the rest of the turn after you, summon this card, you're locked away from the extra deck. Nothing too, exciting. That's kind of like the whole thing about them. They lock you away from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. Maximus is your 1-of of this deck. I know some people want to play more. I think 1 is fine. You can go ahead and banish a extra deck monster from your graveyard, whether it's Fusion, Synchro, XC, or Link, and then you can special summon Maximus. On the special summon, or I guess at any point, you can go ahead and choose to activate the effect to extra Foolish Burial 2 cards from your extra deck, and then your opponent gets to choose 2 from theirs. So most of the time you're going to be sending out Ash and maybe like Omega or something. We'll go into that a little bit later, but again, this is just sending 2 cards from your extra deck to the graveyard to keep extending your plays. Be warned, if this deck does become a way more popular deck, your opponent may be running the Nova Makaba engine, so they'll send the Nova. Nova would trigger special summon Makaba. Be careful about that because that can hurt your plays. That's it for the Dogmatika engine in terms of the main deck monsters. We are playing a couple hand traps, 3 Phantasmes. I think this card is good going, second a lot of the time, but I don't mind having it going first because it lets you draw into these, if anything, right? So the whole point of Phantasme is you're not going to be going first every single time. I like building my decks around having some kind of play for going first and going second. So Phantasme, every deck is Link Summoning. Emancipator, Eldritch, this deck for example, right? Everything is Link Summoning somehow. Why wouldn't you play a card that if you draw you're going to be using probably like 90% of the time, right? It's good, it replaces itself, it's a +1, and you get targeting protection, which is incredibly strong. 3 Ash Blossom, one of the best cards against this current meta, I would say. I did say it was Ogre, but because Dogmatika had entered the meta, it does kind of like open up a little hole for other decks to kind of squeeze their way in, because now that the tier 1 decks have to side deck for this deck and have to compete with this deck, other decks might start, slowly creeping in very, I would say not fast, but you'll start seeing different decks also pop up, like Dinosaurs, maybe even Mech Knight Invoke, because they are soft counters to this deck, and I'll go into that in a whole different video about some counters, some things you can do with this deck, and all of that stuff. But yeah, 3 Ash Blossom, the most generic one. You stop an Endear Servant, you stop the Alistair search, you stop the Ecclesia search. A lot of things that this card stops in this deck, right? Ghost Ogre, again, I've been playing this card since 2017. I've been saying it's great. I've always run it as a 2-of because it hits a lot of decks, but it won't hit every deck like Ash does. But when it hits like that, when it hurts a deck, it hurts a deck. Like Emancipators and Eldritch have a tough time comboing off once they lose a monster on board. 1 Terraforming for your Meltdown. Meltdown is going to get you Alistair to hand. Your opponent cannot negate the activation of your fusion cards, in this case just invocation. So they can still negate the effect, but that's fine, you don't really care, that's probably not going to be happening most of the time. So you want to make sure your invocation resolves to fusion summon Makaba, or Purgatrio, or Augustus, whatever you might need at that time. We're playing 1 Mystic Mine as a backup in case of anything. Mystic Mine is good in this deck, you have a couple ways to get rid of it, whether it's Cosmic Cyclone, or just replacing it with your own Meltdown. and even simplifying the board state a little bit just to get some card advantage can help you a lot throughout the game. And it's a one-of, it doesn't really hurt. 3 Nadir Servant, it's insanely good of a card. You just send 1 card from your extra deck with attack higher than what you want to add from your deck. So for example, you're going to be sending probably Ash Dragon a lot if that's your major play for the turn. This will activate on end phase, but because it's 2500 attack, you can add any of these 3, right? And a lot of time you're going to be not adding the Ecclesia. I would say you're going to be adding Maximus most of the time, because then you can use Maximus's effect, and on the end phase you get to, you know, I'll talk about the plays in a second, but you get special summon Ecclesia. Ecclesia will add Knighted. So that's Nadir Servant. Again, you're locked out from the extra deck after you activate this card, so be warned about that. Be careful when you activate this. You want to make sure you get your either Macabre play going first, or your whole, you know, Link plays, and then activate Nadir Servant. Invocation, you just play 2 of in this deck. I wouldn't play 3 because you're not primarily focused on fusion summoning and OTKing like the Mech Knight version, where you need that 6 card to be Invocation with an Alistair in hand. Again, if you see it, you see it. If you don't, you know, you have other plays, which is good. But I think 2 is fine in this version. I would not play 3 unless you're going for a going second OTK version. But even then, I would advise against this version of the deck then and just play Mech Knights or something. 3 triple tactical talents. You need to see cards in this deck. Because pretty much everything is a 1-card starter. So if you see Alistair, you have a Macabre. If you see Ecclesia, you have a Knighted. If you, or a Maximus, right? Like, you have a lot of things that kind of like work with each other. And your opponent has a lot of ways to negate it. Veiler, Ogre, Ash, you know, Moonlit. There's like so many things. And then by just having them negate one thing, you either draw 2, or, you know, Forceful Sentry something away from their hand, depending on what's more useful for you at that time. Do you need that +2? Or I guess +1 technically. Do you need those 2 cards, or do you value them having, you know, 3 cards, or 2 cards, or whatever it might be, or 1 card, or 4 cards for the start of the turn? 2 Call by the Grave. I would play this at 3 maybe, but I feel like there's not a lot of things that this works well against now. I feel like just Call by the Grave isn't the best option right now. I know it's weird to say because it's such a strong card, but I just feel like there's other things that kind of like slid away from it in a way. You can cut something else out, you can cut an Ash, you can cut, you know, the Mystic Mine, add a 3rd Call by the Grave if you'd like. I think 2's fine. 2 Cosmic Cyclone. I will stand for the day that everyone plays 2 Cosmic Cyclone or MSTs or Twin Twisters or something in their deck. It's good, but you need to remember, this deck loses to Mystic Mine. There's no outs in the main deck besides this, right? You're not going to be able to activate your Entis to pop something on the field, right? Because you're locked under Mystic Mine probably. So you need something to kill it off with. Also, a quick alternative, if you want to play triple tactical talents, you can either play 1 Upstart Goblin and 2 Spellbook Knowledge. The only problem is you do lose a monster on the board, which you don't always want that to happen. The other option is 1 Upstart and 2 Desires, or just cut these out completely for Solemn Judgments, or Strikes, or some kind of like back row hate type of thing. Up to you, whatever you want, it's up to you. So yeah, Cosmic Cyclone, please play 2, just at least 2. Even MST, just play that if you want to not pay the 1000 life point cost. Infinite Impermanence, you played 3 of it, so basically we're playing what? 3, 6, 8, 11, technically 13 hand traps. So you have a lot of negation here going first and second, a lot of setup for going first and second as well. 2 Crackdowns, primarily for going first here. You are able to start popping things on your opponent's side of the board, start negating things, so that if they really rely on having that 1 monster on board, you just take it away from them and then they pass. And then you just link away that monster. You're fine with that. I know Crackdown probably might not be on everyone's mind, but I just think in this build, why wouldn't you play it is just really strong. And then 1 Dogmatika Punishment. Only downside of this card is that after you use it, you're locked away from your extra deck until your next end phase, which does suck. So you only really use it if you know your opponent can't really OTK you if you can't win that turn. But overall, it's still a really strong card, and it's kind of like, you know, if you have to use it, you still have to use it, right? Like, it's kind of like Pot of Desires. You might not be happy with the -10, but those 2 cards, or in this case, that pop, is more valuable. Especially since you're also sending a card from your extra deck to the graveyard, so you have some playability there. So, straight into the extra deck, 2 copies of Entis, pop cards on the field. It's strong. 1 copy to Augustus. Under Meltdown, it's a free pop no matter what, and it's also that followable play in case you need to pop something on your opponent's turn. On top of that, it can be 4500 attack because you have all of these fusions that are 2500, right? 2 Entis, 2 Macabres, 1 Ash Dragon, and I guess Purgatory for the 2300, but that's fine. Really strong, please play 1, it's just so valuable in this deck. 2 Makabas, that negate factor is really strong. You have all of these light targets, like this is the most light targets I've seen since playing Mech Knight Invoke. So you want to make sure you have the extra negate, you want to make sure you have those plays ready, but you don't want to overdo it with 3. I think 2 is fine, right? Use 1 for the first turn, use 1 for the second turn, protect yourself from Nibiru because it's always going to be your 4th summon. 2 Purgatrio, I know now everyone's going to be agreeing with this. You can cut 1 Purgatrio out, I just think 2 is always the right choice. This deck forces your opponent into a more simplified game state, which lets you OTK a bit faster, I would say, and Purgatrio is your main reason for OTKing faster. Please play 2, you have a couple fire targets, you're going to be able to get it out, don't worry. 1 Ash Dragon, on end phase if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent, for whatever reason, you can go ahead and use the Skarm-esque effect and add a Dogmatika monster to your hand, or special summon it. So if your board is like a Makaba and then you activate it into your servant to add a Maximus, Maximus will trigger, send out your Ash Dragon and something else, and then Ash Dragon will trigger an end phase, special summon the Ecclesia. Ecclesia will add the Knighted to your hand. Now you have a Makaba with a Knighted in hand ready to go. And that's not assuming you have all these other trap cards, right? So following that, we're playing 1 Omega. Just to recycle some things, you can go ahead and recycle your Ash Dragon, you can go ahead and recycle your Agadis, your Entis, whatever you might need for that time frame. But honestly, I think it's good. This could be an alternative. You can make another Entis, you can make this another Invoke monster, you can make this Nova if you feel like you need to. It just depends on what this deck is doing and the version and what you're trying to achieve here. If you feel like this deck is everywhere and you're getting Maximus all the time, then yeah, change this to Cyber Dragon Nova, get yourself a free Makaba on board. So that one's kind of up to you. 1 Ouster the Invoker of Madness, you either OTK with a bunch of fusion monsters being activated left and right, or the alternative is, if your opponent makes you, if they Maximus you, why not send an Ouster of Madness, right? They're locked away from the extra deck so they can't use your own material, but if you don't have an Ouster in your hand but you do have an invocation, this can be used to, fusion summon. It's an alternative that you want to keep in mind. It's not going to be your primary focus because obviously if you send it off Maximus or Nadir or even Punishment, you are kind of stuck because you can't use it that same turn, but when it's your turn, then you can. So again, keep it in mind, it's just a little neat thing you can keep doing later on. 1 Borrelsword Dragon, OTK, you want to make sure that you're not always just stuck with your fusion plays. You need that link monster to sometimes win you the game, and Borrelsword is that monster, so just throw it in. Again, you have Crackdown, pretty easy to take a link to, and then 2 of your monsters, make it a link 4, and then OTK for game. 1 Nightmare Phoenix, another fire target, backrow removal, really strong. 1 Nightmare Unicorn, kind of like a bounce for anything, and it's a link 3 again, you have Crackdown, you don't really mind that. Almirage and Gardna for your Alistair plays, that's only it. Alistair into Almirage, Almirage into Secure Gardna, plus Alistair in Graveyard using Invocation to bring out your Makaba, right? Simple, nothing too complex. Side deck, 3 Nibiru, still really strong. 3 Forbidden Droplets, I'd rather this than Dark Willow no more because you can OTK. Send out whatever you need from your hand or field, make a Purgatrio, assuming they have like 3 monsters on the board, it's likely going to be game. Because not only are those monsters halved, your Purgatrio is getting passive attack bonuses. So, again, simple game state, works out for you in your favor. Lightning Storm, still really good. If you're going second, you want to clear out your opponent's board. This could be replaced if you'd like. I'm iffy on Lightning Storm right now because as good as it is, it's also bad at the same time. Because if you don't draw it and you have something on the board, like, I don't know, this one can be up to you. You can make this into anything you want. I think Lightning Storm is fine right now though. Make it a Raigeki and 2 Twin Twisters for the fun of it, right? 3 Evenly Match, just breaks most boards and wins most games that way. But again, very simple card, does a lot, high impact. Judgment, you're going first, you want to make sure that you're setting up your board to the point where your opponent can't break it very easily. And overall, that's kind of it for the deck profile. That's as simple as it can get. I wanted to breeze through it so you guys at least get a quick explanation for it. But overall, let's go ahead and make a quick little test combo video or a quick little test board to show you guys what this deck can do, with 1 or 2 hands really quickly. Alright guys, so we went ahead and got a random hand and this is what it's looking like. It's pretty solid, honestly speaking, but Let's go ahead and just show you guys a very quick combo. Activate Meltdown, it's going to search your Alistair to hand. Then you will normal summon your Alistair, add your invocation to hand. We all know this play, it's nothing too complex, it's pretty simple. We're going to summon off Mirage, link off the Mirage for Secure Guard now. Activate the invocation, banishing our Alistair and our Secure Guard now. To special summon our Macabre. I would do it in defense mode if you're going first, you want to protect yourself from Lightning Storm. Spin this back to the deck, that to hand. And then activate your Nadir Servant. So we're going to go ahead and send our Ash Dragon to add ourselves a... So we have a choice here. We can either add a Maximus and then do a bit more plays, but it's not going to benefit us too much because we did get the Nadir Servant for this turn. We can add an Ecclesia. So this one's kind of iffy because we have two choices. We can send the Omega and then send something else, recur that back if we'd like. No, I think I'm going to play it safe because we don't really need Maximus in this situation. So we're going to go ahead and add our Ecclesia. Special summon our Ecclesia because we have an invoke monster over here. It's an extra deck monster. She will trigger to add ourselves a where is it? United. And then again, this is assuming our opponent hasn't activated a monster effect at all for so far. But after that, Ash Dragon will trigger on end phase to add ourselves, just for the follow-up, a Maximus. And I guess we could special summon like a Knighted if we wanted to, but there's kind of no point. And this is our hand. Just for so much follow-up, we have a Macabre negate for a spell or a monster effect. We have Phantasmic to draw 2 for the following turn and targeting protection. We have the Knighted, as I mentioned, for a negate, and a Mystic Mind, and something cheeky you can do that I've been doing a lot, because again, sometimes you don't have the best of hands. Make a Macabre with a Mystic Mind on board, that's it. You might think like, but you have a monster on board, that's bad for you. Not really, because if your opponent's a combo deck, the second they try to go for 2 monsters, they're stuck. And then that one monster they make, you just negate with Macabre, right? So, just something to keep in mind, but let's go ahead and reset again. Really quickly, see what we can get. Maybe we can get a decent hand, some trap cards to showcase here. And this hand also works out pretty decently. So, normal summon Alistair. Get our invocation. Send that to graveyard. Send this. Activate invocation. We kind of know this play again. Nothing too fancy here. It's the same play we've always been doing. It's kind of how this deck has been working for a while. Send that to deck, add Alistair to hand, and now we can go ahead and banish our Mirage to special summon our Maximus. Then activate Maximus's effect to send 2. We're going to send Ash Dragon, and then kind of anything else you want. We don't really benefit off a lot of these right now, so we can go ahead and do we want to? No, we don't want to send Omega. Interesting situation, because I don't really want to pop anything, but we don't really need the Phoenix at this case. So that's going to be that. I'm going to activate this. Face down, it's going to be set on the board. And then we're going to go ahead and in phase activate Ash Dragon's effect to special summon our Ecclesia. Ecclesia will activate to add any Dogmatika card from your deck to your hand. Because we already have a Knight, we don't really need 2 of them. But let's see, do we want to... The trap doesn't really benefit us right now because we can't set it. So we're going to actually add another Knighted. The reason why is because we can activate one on my opponent's turn and then one on my turn. And then look at that, you have basically a monster negate, you have 2 monster negates, an Ash Blossom, and a Cosmic Cyclone. So pretty decent setup here. Again, nothing too complex. We didn't draw exactly our trap cards in this case, which obviously changes the fact. And that would be about it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Take care, and as always, stay safe.